Let's find the perimeter and the area for a Norman window. A normal window is a window in the side of a house or location in which we have a rectangle with a semicircle on top. To find the perimeter, we're about to add up all the lengths together. And if we realize this, we have one side, a second side, and a third side of a rectangle, plus the top half of a circle, a semicircle. The area we'll find afterwards will be the area of the rectangle and the area of a semicircle added together. So to begin, let's label as much information as we have from this. And in a rectangle, if we know that this bottom is 24 and the side is 23.5 feet, the other side would also need to be 23.5 feet, since two sides of a rectangle are equal. Furthermore, for us to find the half circle, the semicircle, its length, we'll call that the circumference, we need a radius of the circle. Well, we see that the bottom of this rectangle has 24 feet, so is the top. But that's not the radius. From one side to the other would be two radiuses. So if we chop this in half, then half of this would be the radius, which will be half of 24. Half of 24 is 12 feet. We now have enough information to find both perimeter and area. So the perimeter of this figure will be, and we'll draw this in figures first, the three sides of the rectangle plus the top half of that semicircle. So looking at this, we see that the perimeter for these three sides will be 23.5 plus another 23.5 plus 24 feet, whatever that will add up to. Furthermore, the circumference for a circle is the formula 2 pi r, but that's for the entire circle. Half of the circle will be, if we look at our formula c equals 2 pi r, half of that will be where we're multiplying this by 1/2. And we see that the 2 and the 1/2 will cancel. So for our figure here, the circumference will simply be pi times the radius, where the radius is 12 feet. So the circumference of this will be pi times the radius we saw was 12 feet. Let's add up these numbers now for our perimeter. So 23.5 and 23.5 and 24. We'll use long arithmetic to show this. 23.5, another 23.5, and 24. Adding these decimals up at the right, we'll add the tenths up. 0.5 and another 0.5 will become a whole, which is 0. Carry the 1. 1 plus 3 is 4. 4 plus 3 is 7. 7 plus 4 is 11. Carry the 1. 1 plus 2 is 3. 3 plus 2 is 5. 5 plus 2 is 7. And carrying our decimal point down, that adds up to 71.0, or 71. So the perimeter is 71 plus, and instead of writing pi times 12, we'll write the number in front of the symbol to write it as 12 pi. Since we are asked to leave our answers with pi, do not change pi to decimal form, we'll write our perimeter as a final answer of 71 plus 12 pi. And since we measured this in feet, the perimeter will be 71 plus 12 pi feet as our answer. Whatever this calculates to become is how much material we would need to add up for the lengths going around this figure. So our first half of the problem is done. The perimeter, the adding up lengths of this entire figure, is 71 plus 12 pi feet. Now let's go back and find the area. And to do that, let's erase our adding columns here. So we'll simply erase this and go back and look at our areas now. We'll delete this formula as well. The area of this figure will be the area of our rectangle plus the area of the semicircle. So if we need another figure for this, area will be the rectangle, this material, plus the area of the semicircle, this. The area formula that we'll use for a rectangle, on our right, we'll scroll up, is the formula length times width, where length and width are the sides of the rectangle. Here's the formula. So the area of this, let's at least write down the formulas. The area will be length times width plus, and the area of a circle is pi times the radius squared. But again, we only need half that circle. So if the formula is normally pi times radius squared, half of that circle will be the formula 1/2 pi times radius squared. So we'll write here for our formula 1/2 pi times the radius squared. Let's plug in our numbers that we now know for L, W, and R to find our area. So the length, and in fact we'll erase this side, and we'll also erase this side so we don't get confused. So the length of this rectangle is 24 feet, and the width is 23.5. So we'll write that here. We'll write L is 24 times, and the width was 23.5, plus 1/2 times pi, and the radius was half the side. Half of 24 is 12. So right here, multiplied by 12 squared. Let's multiply the decimals and simplify 1/2 pi times 12 squared for our final area answer. To multiply 24 times 23.5, we'll use long multiplication over on our right to show how to multiply decimals. 24 multiplied by 23.5, what we're about to do is multiply the 5 by 24, the 3 by 24, and the 2 by 24, and write those in decimal columns. So 5 times 4 is 20, carry the 2, 5 times 2 is 10, plus 2 is 12. For our next row, we'll put a 0 as a placeholder and multiply 3 times 24. Well, 3 times 4 is 12, carry the 1, 3 times 2 is 6, plus 1 is 7. We'll do our next row by adding 2 zeros for placeholders and multiply 2 times 24. 2 times 4 is 8, and 2 times 2 is 4. Next, let's add these columns up. Adding 3 zeros becomes 0. 2 plus 2 is 4. 1 plus 7 is 8, plus 8 is 16. Carry the 1. 1 plus 4 is 5. Since we have one decimal point moved one place, our imaginary decimal point at the end will also move 1 point to arrive at the answer 564. So 24 times 23.5 becomes 564. That's our area. Plus 1/2 pi times 12 squared. Well, using order of operations, we'll first find 12 squared. 12 squared is 12 times 12, which becomes 144. 1/2 times pi times 144. Now, if we neglect the pi for a second, we have 1/2 times 144, and half of 144, 2 will go into 144 72 times. And we'll write this number in front of the pi symbol. So our area is 564 plus 72 pi. Again, we'll leave our answer in terms of pi's, so this is an acceptable answer. If we used 3.14, we could multiply and add up for some decimal equivalent, but we'll leave it this way. And what the area again represents is the material on the inside of this window. So that material would be all this rectangle plus half this semicircle. And since area is measured in square units, our area is really 564 plus 72 pi square feet. So our perimeter, going around the figure, adding those lengths up, is 71 plus 12 pi feet. And the area of this figure, the material on the inside, is 564 plus 72 pi square feet.